Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Midwifery Advisory Council. Dan Holzer, the chair of the Advisory Council. Just wanted to just a few little details since the meeting is being conducted. Oh, wait a minute. Well, sorry. We have to do our roll call first. Jump right into it. Tanya, please.
Ms. Abe?
Yes, here, present.
Dr. Adams?
I'm present. I'm here.
Ms. Brelia?
I'm here.
Ms. Curran? Present. And Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Sorry there. I was so excited to start the meeting. So I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting. I'm Diane Holzer, once again, the chair of the Advisory Council. The meeting is conducted by WebEx, so I'd like to ask all MAC members and speakers to announce themselves by name before speaking, just for clarity for the official record. All MAC members are able to unmute themselves to speak during the meeting. Please place yourself back on mute when you're not speaking to reduce background noise, because that helps the audio quality for everybody. During each call for comments from MAC members and speakers, we'll ensure that all comments can be accommodated, are heard before proceeding with our agenda. Government Code Section 11126.5 allows a board to remove people who willfully interrupt a meeting and to clear the room or virtual space if order cannot be restored by removing or muting distracted people. During each agenda item, the host moderating this WebEx event will activate the Q&A feature of WebEx and will ask anyone wishing to make a public comment to indicate so by replying yes. The host will then call on individuals who indicated they wish to speak, who wish to make public comments by name. When called upon, the host will unmute the microphone of the individual and they will be able to make their public comment. So this is Sean who's going to be helping us with all of this. Thank you so much, Sean. After the comment, the individual is placed back on mute. Please see the agenda for WebEx instructions on how to connect from the link on the agenda and additional instructions. The board's IT staff will assist me with receiving the public comments via WebEx during this meeting. MAC members, as a reminder, during today's meeting, any items requiring a vote will be done by roll call vote. This means that once a motion is made and seconded, Ms. Moriarty will call each of the names individually to request our vote. I would now like to call the meeting to order and ask that, well, we already did that. Let's move to agenda item number 2, public comments not on the agenda. Are there any public comments?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Holzer. I've gone ahead and opened up the Q&A window. If any public participants would like to make a public comment, please just go ahead and type anything, just yes, anything, so I'll see your name come through and I'll call upon you on the order that that you get queued up, and you can go ahead and make your public comment. Let me give it a few minutes here. I see about 10 public members so far, so could be that people are still connecting. Okay, so I have one question, but I think it's just a clarification. If you are a public individual, you'll be able to use audio, but not turn on your video. So if you're going to be speaking or wish to make a public comment, just let me know. I'll unmute your audio and you'll be able to ask your question through audio. Only the panelists will be able to share video, and that's just privacy of our attendees. Okay, this time, Ms. Holzer, I don't see any other requests. I don't know, maybe we want to circle back if we see some more people join up, but right now that's all I see.
All right, thank you. Then we'll just move on to the next agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes from the December 3rd, 2020 Midwifery Advisory Council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the December MAC meeting minutes from the members? Hearing none, or is there any public comment on the minutes?
Okay, again, for the duration of the meeting, I'll just go ahead and leave the public comment or the Q&A window open. So if at any point anybody would like to make a public comment. I'm getting a couple actual now reporting that it's hard to hear you, Diane. I can hear you okay as well, but I don't know if you can.
I'll just sometimes if I get closer, it helps.
I think when you turn your head to the side, maybe it's kind of fading out. So maybe if you could
Okay.
face the mic, yeah. So
Yeah, I'll just kiss the computer here. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the December MAC meeting?
It's Dr. Adams, and I move to approve the minutes from the December 3rd MAC meeting minutes.
And can I have a second?
I'll second that. This is Claudia.
And we asked for public comment. I didn't hear any. So Mrs. Moriarty, can you please perform the roll call vote?
Yes, Ms. Abe,
Yes, I approve.
Dr. Adams,
I approve.
Ms. Brelia,
I approve.
Ms. Curran,
I approve.
and Ms. Holzer.
Approve.
Thank you.
So the MAC meeting agenda, the MAC meeting minutes are approved. So we will move to agenda item number 4, the report from the Midwifery Advisory Council Chair, myself. I don't have that much today. I attended and represented the MAC at the recent medical board meeting and presented our draft agenda, which was approved. There was a report given at the medical board meeting regarding the interested parties meeting that was held regarding regulations for licensed midwives. There were representatives from the midwifery community, from the medical board, and ACOG and CMA. Comments from the midwifery community, mostly focused on tabling regulations until the midwifery board could be formed. Comments from CMA and ACOG, mostly centered on the scope and limiting the scope of practice of licensed midwives. The medical board accepted the report from the interested parties meeting, but took no action on it at that time. The letter that the MAC, that we all in the MAC drafted to the birth certificate registration and social security offices was sent out soon after it was approved, and staff has already received feedback from it. Staff and myself had a meeting recently with one county to clarify issues, which I think was helpful for that county. And staff also has received communications from another county that will be having a meeting with their staff to clarify procedures. So I'm happy the work we all put into drafting this letter has seen some benefits, and hopeful that things will change for the better for the midwifery clients applying for birth certificates and social security numbers. Once again, I would like to officially welcome Tisa Kareen as our newest member of the MAC. We look forward to her energy and knowledge as we move forward with issues for licensed midwives. I'm looking forward to hearing the latest updates regarding the sunset review and the possible creation of a midwifery board for licensed midwives. And that's all I really have for now. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? All right, then, moving to agenda item number 5, establishing goals for the Midwifery Advisory Council. I think I'm going to once again advise that we don't add anything to our.
I'm sorry, Ms. Holzer, can you ask for public comment on your report, please?
Yes, I did ask for public comment, and there.
Oh.
Oh, public comment. Sorry.
Okay.
Any public comment on my report?
if anyone would like to make a public comment, please just type anything into the Q&A window and I'll call on you in the order that they're received. Give it a minute here. Okay, I don't see any questions, Ms. Holzer.
All right, so moving to agenda 5, establishing goals for the MAC. once again, I'm going to, I think unless any of the MAC members have anything that they would like to see us tackle at this point, feels like our plates are a little full right now, but do any of the other members have a goal that's come up for them? No, hearing none. Any questions or comments from the public?
If anyone would like to make a public comment, please, type anything into the Q&A window and I'll call on you in order to receive. I'm not seeing anything at this time, Ms. Holzer.
Okay, Tisa, mostly for your benefit, this is a standing agenda item that's always on there in case we think of new things that we need to do. But right now we're sort of in the middle of a few different things, so that's why this is on there. It's a standing agenda item. So moving to agenda item number 6, the report from the task force and discussion regarding Medi-Cal related issues. This has my name on it, but it should be Claudia, I do believe.
I have no report. I took it mostly as a placeholder, and because we thought Tisa might be interested in having this committee, and we didn't want to volunteer her for anything before she was at a meeting.
So I'm happy to take on some Medi-Cal related issues. Just need a jumping point.
I'm sorry, I did not understand that. This is Dr. Adams. I didn't understand that.
We're currently talking about agenda item number 6, right? The Medi-Cal related issues?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. It sounds
correct.
it sounds like that there's a lot of midwives dealing with Medi-Cal and trying to get contracted with Medi-Cal, getting paid by Medi-Cal, and there's a lot of issues revolving around licensed midwives getting payment and contracts. And since I'm a Medi-Cal provider and have about 3 years experience with Medi-Cal, I definitely have a lot of firsthand knowledge on what's working, what's not working, what's going on, hearing from other midwives as well.
So are there any like more specific type issues? Like there's a problem getting paid. Is there a problem billing? Is there a problem Medi-Cal sending out payments? Is there, I guess what I'm asking is, I don't see really anything written down of as to what the issues are.
Yeah,
so I mean, it looks to me like first the issues need to be identified. And is that something that is going to be done, or is it just going to remain as a placeholder?
I think that's great. I could identify some issues. Is that what you guys would like me to do, is come up with a list of issues?
Yeah, I don't know what the procedure is here, but I would be happy to turn the committee over because I am not a Medi-Cal provider and don't know any of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would like to take over as the head of the Medi-Cal committee, that would be great, since you know what's going on. Diane or somebody, do we have to like vote on changing who is the head of the committee?
No, this just was a task force that we appointed, but I think Tisa, there has been a lot of, just ideas thrown out in previous meetings about issues that have come up. So I can try and see if I can pull some of those out of previous meetings. I know Jocelyn Dugan did a little bit of work coming up with some issues and reported on it to the MAC at least once. So if we can just get that for you and just get you a little bit of background on what sort of has been discussed, but then of course, being a Medi-Cal provider yourself, you're going to have a much fresher perspective, and it'd be fabulous just to kind of go through that. And if you would like someone else to work with on this, we can ask for other people on the committee who want to work with this.
I'm happy to stay on and help. I just don't want to lead it. Did you guys get that? I'm happy to stay on and help. This is Claudia, but I don't want to lead it.
This is Dr. Adams. I'd like to know, is it possible for maybe Miss Moretti or another staff member to either send the minutes related to this over the last couple of years to Miss Corinne, so that those things that have been identified can be addressed rather than starting over from scratch? Is it possible that there is a staff member who could assist on this?
This is Tanya Moretti. I have no problem with that. I can get those documents to Ms. Curran. Yes.
Thank you.
And this
Thank
is
you.
Marina O'Connor. I just wanted to also, just for your knowledge, Ms. Corinne, that all the prior meeting minutes are available on our website. If there's for any prior meetings that have not been posted yet, that's just because they have to be approved by the committee first. So, but if there's any, are there any questions on anything, on those documents, definitely let Tanya or myself know. That's fine.
Ms. Holzer, did we lose you by
You did
chance?
for a minute, but I think I'm back. I turned off my video because I think that helps.
Okay, yeah, we can hear you clearly now.
Okay, good. So what I would suggest is that Claudia and Tusa have a conversation in the next, before our next meeting, and maybe come up with some a few things that seem like something that the MAC could actually focus on and help promote, to fixes for anything that are the most pressing issues for Medi-Cal and licensed midwives. If that sounds okay to you.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Great. So I don't think we have to, there's nothing to really vote on or anything. I was just gonna, like Claudia said, we've been holding this task force in anticipation of having some new energy to put into it. So this is fabulous. This is a good day. So I think we can move on to our next agenda item, which is number 7.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
don't forget to call for public comment on it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just like in a hurry today, I guess. Are there any public comments on the Medi-Cal task force?
One public comment, just agreeing that Ms. Kern would be the best position to identify problems and potential solutions. If anyone would like to make a verbal comment, please go ahead and type your name in there, and I can call on you in the order received. Here we go. First up, we have Rosanna Davis. And Nietzsche. Rosanna, are you there?
Yes, hello, Rosanna Davis, California Association of Licensed Midwives. Hello, everyone. This is always very weird doing this virtually, but thank you all. I wanted to first welcome Tisa Curran to the MAC. Really appreciate your willingness to serve, and I think you're going to be a great addition to the council. And I just wanted to reiterate that I think Ms. Curran is best positioned to not only identify problems that licensed midwives are having with Medi-Cal and their beneficiaries accessing such care, as well as potential solutions. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. At this time, I do not see any additional requests.
Okay, then let's go to agenda item number 7. Report from the task force on the licensed midwife annual report and discussion of possible actions on proposed regulatory language. Ms. Salve.
Ms. Sabi, I believe you're on mute if you're speaking there. If you could come off mute. I'm not sure if she stepped away, Ms. Holzer, or I can just tell that she's on mute.
Oh, yeah. Huh. She is connected though, right? She's here?
Yes.
Oh. Um, Danielle, are you there? Well, maybe she's had to catch a phone call or something. Maybe we could go on to agenda item number 8 and come back to 7.
Very well.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. This is Aaron Bone, the board's Chief of Legislation and Public Affairs. It's a pleasure to be speaking before you today. Just a few updates to share since the MAC's prior meeting. On January 4th, the board delivered its sunset report to the legislature, and it is available on the board's website for reading. During the board's meeting last month, the members discussed 2 pieces of legislation, but neither were related to the practice of midwifery. There were relatively few bills at that time for the board to consider, as the meeting occurred prior to the legislature's bill introduction deadline. I do expect the legislative agenda item for the board's May 13 and 14 meeting to be much heavier. In addition, board staff are tracking other bills that have been introduced and are engaging with authors and sponsors to understand their intent as it may pertain to the board's consumer protection mission. Further, the board continues its work in collaboration with stakeholders regarding sunset review. Perhaps most notably, the board's sunset hearing is scheduled for this next Friday, March 19th at 9 a.m. At the same hearing, the legislature will also consider the osteopathic medical board. Sunset hearings include opportunities for public comment. Additional details, including how to observe or participate in the hearing, will be available soon on the websites of the Senate and Assembly. Prior to the hearing, a background paper drafted by committee staff will be released, which will help guide discussion and questions from legislators at that hearing. Following the hearing, the board will be expected to provide written responses to the items addressed in the paper. With regard to the possible creation of a new midwifery board, I unfortunately do not have any new information on that I can share, as we are, or rather, not that I can share, I have no updates, as we are awaiting action from the legislative committees on that particular topic. This concludes my prepared remarks, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Will they be talking about the licensed midwifery board at the hearings?
So too soon to tell. There'll be one hearing for next week, which is an oversight hearing. There will be other hearings in the future that pertain to the bill that will be ultimately carrying the language to extend the board's sunset and hopefully other items that the board's requested. We'll probably have a better sense of that as the background paper is released. That will be published. I don't know when, but that will be published, I expect, prior to the hearing on the legislature's website. But ultimately, that decision rests in the legislators themselves. If they ask us a question about it, then we'll be there to respond to the best of our ability.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the members? Are there any public comments?
If anyone would like to make a public comment this time, please indicate so in the Q&A window. First up, we have Rosanna Davis. Rosanna, you there again?
Yes, hello, Rosanna Davis with Quorum. So as we all know, since the last medical board sunset review, California Association of Licensed Midwives has increasingly brought about the attention that the Medical Board of California's struggle to adequately manage the licensed midwife program, which has resulted in a reduced capacity to fulfill its mission to enhance and protect public safety. To be clear, the situation is not the fault of any individual members, board members, medical board staff, who all do a great job managing a large governmental institution. It's a systems problem that needs a change in the regulatory structure of the midwifery program. In the years since the last medical board sunset review, call members have increasingly raised concerns about the need for a board, in part due to the unresolved questions about practice guidelines posted on the medical board website in 2014, despite having no statutory authority and not having undergone a rulemaking process. So it's not entirely unexpected that a board with such broad and expansive regulatory authority over a large population of licensees could easily overlook the regulatory and management needs of the licensees of a small profession, its members having little knowledge or experience with midwifery. However, the consequences of the board's lack of knowledge and experience with the licensed midwife profession, which have been observed and documented during multiple meetings and hearings, means that the public is not being adequately served and protected when it comes to the regulation of licensed midwives. Some examples and factors contributing to the current regulatory structures, ineffective and inappropriate regulation of licensed midwives include, again, board members are not often aware of their responsibility for regulating licensed midwives, that licensed midwives practice takes place in out-of-hospital settings and community-based settings, that licensed midwives are not nurses nor nurse midwives, that licensed midwives do not engage in the practice of medicine, and that the midwifery model and standards of maternity care are distinct from obstetrical model of maternity care. The legislative intent of the hospital transfer form was data collection and research. However, all of these hospital transfer reports are being essentially reviewed as complaints because they go through central complaint unit. The medical board, frankly, has bigger problems. They have high-profile cases of sexual misconduct and substance abuse, and it's understandable that the licensed midwife program is not a priority. The board initiatives on professional development and quality improvement are likewise focused almost exclusively on physicians. Licensed midwives are prohibited from being represented on the medical board. The board has not updated the licensed midwife guidelines and regulations as standards of care have evolved and new evidence and research becomes available. We've been told that rules can't be promulgated when stakeholders are in disagreement. However, insistence that physician associations with interests in direct conflict with licensed midwives be treated as stakeholders has resulted in participation in regulatory capture. So now we have information about the LM program budget that indicates also that the LM program would be, that an LM board would be financially viable. Initial analysis indicates a number of cost efficiencies could also be made with a licensed midwife program under an independent board. The current structure of the MAC and the Midwifery Task Force have proven unable to significantly assist the board overcome challenges it faces in its management of the licensed midwife program due to the fact that the board is not statutorily mandated to accept any MAC policy recommendations, nor is the midwifery task force, nor are the midwifery task force recommendations legally binding. In summation, the licensed midwives are the only licensed healthcare professionals in California that remain under the regulatory control of another profession, lacking rulemaking and disciplinary authority over its own members, while the board's exercise of its statutory jurisdiction over licensed midwives is a relatively minor aspect of its workload. For California licensed midwives and the families we serve, control over midwifery practice by another profession remains an ongoing challenge that is becoming increasingly unsustainable. CALM supports a clean transition. However, medical associations will continue their efforts to take any opportunity to restrict access to care with midwives, including creating obstacles to the formation of a licensed midwife board. We look forward to continuing to work with medical board staff in a clean transition. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. At this time, I don't see any additional requests. I did get a message from Ms. Abe that she is back. She had to step away for a call. So at the conclusion of this one, yeah, we can go back to agenda item 8. Thank you.
All right then, so if there are no other comments, let's go back to agenda item number 7, the report from the task force on the licensed midwifery annual report and discussion and possible action on proposed regulatory language. Danielle? Are we ready to go back to, yeah, okay. You're still muted though, and can you unmute yourself?
Try, I don't know if the other call you took was related on your computer or anything like that, but try muting and unmuting yourself again and seeing if that will bring your audio back. Could we have you call in? If you go into the little ... menu at the bottom of the screen, you can click on that and do the switch audio option. It should either give you an option to maybe your microphone's not selected correctly on your computer, or you could call in and use the telephone audio since it doesn't seem like it's working for you. Did a sound check earlier and I know it was coming through, but just...
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Ah, 20 times is a charm. Okay. So I have an update to report, which is we did get the text draft to change and open up basically to catch demographic information. I don't know what screen sharing capabilities you have, or if you could put that document up. But while you're doing that,
I can pass you the presenter role, and there's the little share button at the bottom of your screen here.
Oh, that's too much information. All right, hold on then. I was unprepared, but I think I can pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second. It's like we need music while we do this. Okay, let me try to find it. Which exhibit number do you, okay, I guess I should know that.
Well, I mean, we do all have a copy of it in the packet. And
Oh, you do? Well, then
yeah,
good.
so
You already have a copy of it. Let me see.
This is number 7?
Is it number 7? Okay. I think I almost have it up. I think I found it. It wasn't as complicated as I thought. Okay, I have it. I'll share screen. Let me go back to, okay, here we go. Share. Share screen. Oh, here we go. Okay, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So it says, I'll just jump to the underlying part. Each licensed midwife who assists or supervises a student midwife in assisting in childbirth that occurs in and out of hospital settings shall report each client's race and ethnicity as identified by the client as part of the licensed midwife annual report. So the staff put this together, so it should be in the right format to move forward with it. So I want to thank the staff. I want to thank Dr. Adams. I would also like to thank Ms. Webb and any other staff who worked to this effort. I would like to really ask, I have an ask, which is for people who have more experience in moving this forward, if they could assist any allies, any individual, any organization. I don't think I think that they've changed other things that were way more, had many more pages than this document. But of course, I will be forthright that I am a rookie, but this looks like something that's simple to put to get this change done. But I will be honest that I have been discouraged. I do believe it's been more than 3 meetings, so that would make a year that I've been on this committee. And I do feel that perhaps the board members are ill-equipped. Me being a rookie, I know that on other boards I've been on, they do train the board members, and they make sure they know the parliamentary rules, and they have some support. This is the first time I've been on a board where there's very little support to do the business of the board. We are tasked to protect consumers, and I just want to be honest and say I don't know that I feel equipped or mentored to do that work of protecting consumers. I also want to say that I do feel that this effort to get this far, I'm just going to be honest, I feel that it might be a barrier. I want to identify it as a barrier because I did do a lot of the steps, which was I was sent a database to figure this out, and I did ask for help. I did get it eventually. But even my co-chair on the committee, she seemed, I mean, we were really struggling together. And I want to say, I don't think that it could go unnoticed. I find that maybe because this is women's work, I did go back myself. I know everything is recorded, and I have studied the work of the board for the last, I went back to actually the beginning of the board before I applied, just to see the progress. And one thing is a threat I identified, the board struggles they're corrected quite a bit on the rules. They seem, sometimes there's confusion. There's a lot of times the board is corrected. I don't know, I'm bringing up a lot of issues, but these issues all tie together, and I'm just tying it to myself. I happen to be African American. I hate to say it might be related. And this issue, I did bring it up and identify it because I thought that you have to count everybody, but a lot of the work I do is to improve the maternal outcomes for African Americans. And if they're not being counted and the outcomes are so good, then that's valuable information that we could start to change and move the needle on health disparities. So my point really is highlighting and being honest that I've struggled to get to this point. I feel sad about it because I know that I'm capable, but if a capable person feels discouraged, that's symptomatic of something. And I just want to be clear. I do feel that there are barriers, and there's systemic barriers, and it's disheartening. And I want to call for change. And that's what I have to report on this. But I do also want to be clear that I'm thankful, very thankful and grateful that we're to this point. Thank you.
Ms. Abe, this is Dr.
Yes.
This is Dr. Adams. And I just want to clarify because I hear feedback. Do you hear feedback when I speak?
I went ahead and muted Ms. Abe's mic. I think there's some feedback happening there. So
Okay.
if you're not speaking, if everyone could mute up. Thank you.
I just want to clarify, you referenced the board, and I'm fairly certain that you were speaking of the Midwifery Advisory Council when you said the board. um, you weren't speaking of the medical board. You were speaking of, when you were talking about being corrected and things like that, you were speaking of this Midwifery Advisory Council. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. I meant this is the Midwifery Advisory Council, which is a part of the medical board. So yes, thank you for the correction and the clarity. When I was referencing, I was talking about the MAC.
And my comment on this was it has been a while that this has been in place. The work that I did, I felt was not very much. The desire was there. The ability to do it was not that. I just didn't have that good of ability. And I'm grateful to Ms. Webb and to Ms. Moriarty who helped get this going. But I think that I know that it's not over. The next thing would be to, I believe, as Ms. Webb pointed out last time, there's a process. Interested party meeting, or it goes to the MAC. It goes to the medical board. There has to be interested party meeting. I don't know the order, so please excuse me. So there is still a process. But to me, this even identifies even more what Ms. Davis said in her report regarding a midwifery board, as far as the ability of the staff members to, which I actually, with the focus of the staff members, that I think would be different if there was a separate midwifery board. So that doesn't exist right now. The question that I have is, I would like to know, for future reference for myself, what could be done, because after a year, it seemed like it got done in about 4 days. And so what could we do to facilitate something like this in the future? That's a question, I believe, for, well, Ms. Holzer, or for any staff, if there's any input.
This is Carrie, and I think part of the issue here was the discussion as to whether this should proceed through legislation, as the LMAR requirements are currently in legislation, or versus regulation. And the right now, the legislative process can be completed within a year. And so someone could get a legislator to write this up. It can go through the process and be in effect as of January 1st, 2022. And the first draft was to amend the statute. And so that was what was presented last time. Then at that meeting in December, there was a discussion on proceeding both through legislative change, which Quorum is capable of doing this. Anyone is capable of reaching out to the legislature to ask for this change. But the MAC decided it wanted to do both statutory change and proceed through regulation as a backup. I didn't have suggested language, but after not having contact with the task force members on the specific language that they were seeking for a proposed regulation, I drafted language hoping to that it would meet the goal, and presented that to the task force members, and they approved it, and then it was shared with the rest of the MAC and posted as the materials.
Okay, thank you very much.
But, you know, as in response to the question of how can we make it move faster, government process moves super slow. That's one of the things I've been learning. things just move slow, but our next steps now, at our last meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we decided we would like CALM, and CALM, Rosanna felt like CALM could probably do that, do the statutory, the legislature fix, and that we were going to continue with the regulatory fix. So what is the next step, Carrie, for the regulatory fix? I mean, obviously we'll have to vote today, and then, yes?
Well, I was gonna say I guess I know I brought that question up, but I think the first thing is, how does that language look, and are there any suggestions or questions? My understanding of the intent of what we're wanting to do is to collect certain demographic information. And I guess I didn't notice this before. I'm sorry I didn't mention this before the meeting, but the way it's written looks like it's limited to any midwife who supervises a student midwife. But as far as the licensed midwife annual report, I don't think it's restricted to midwives who supervise a student midwife. So should that be there, or am I incorrect in that?
Dr. Adams, this is Claudia. This is the same language that's used to require all midwives to submit an annual report.
So only those
it's all
okay.
midwives who assist in childbirth that occurs in an out-of-hospital setting or supervises a student midwife in assisting. So it's all midwives.
Thank you for your clarification. I see that.
You're welcome.
So are there any other questions or comments from the MAC members about this proposed language? Can I have a motion then to approve the regulatory language?
Do we need any public comment?
After we propose it, yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept this language.
Second.
Okay, now we have the motion. Are there any public comments on the regulatory language?
If anyone would like to make a public comment, please indicate so by typing something into the Q&A window. First up, we have Rosanna Davis. Rosanna, are you there?
Yes, Rosanna Davis. I wanted to thank everyone that worked on this, and it's understandable that there's some disappointment and frustration in the process, and point to the fact again that these kinds of things could be more efficient and effective if the licensed midwife program had its own authority to do anything. And I also wanted to, and that would be under the regulation of a licensed midwife board. Yes, I'm a broker. And I wanted to clarify that CALM is willing and available to help with shopping for an author for this language change at the statutory level. But just so you know that it can take a lot of resources, sometimes hundreds of hours of volunteer work to do that kind of shopping for an opportunity or a bill under which to put such a thing. But we're available in here. I'm not, we're not the vehicle to get it done, but CALM is the vehicle for finding opportunities for it to get done. It would be more efficient if it were something that the medical board would take up for a change in the statute. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you very much. This time, I do not see any additional requests.
then Ms. Moriarty, would you please perform the roll call vote?
Yes, Ms. Abe,
Yes, I approve.
Dr. Adams,
I approve.
Ms. Brelia,
I approve.
Ms. Curran,
I approve.
and Ms. Holzer.
I approve.
Thank you.
The proposed regulatory language is approved. Yay, it's done. But could you, Carrie, just give us an idea of what happens next?
Sure. It will be put on the agenda for the board for the May meeting with approval from the board president in consultation with the executive director. And it will be up for discussion, and they can suggest proposed changes to it or adopt it and authorize the staff to move forward with the rulemaking process. And that involves preparing a notice and initial statement of reasons and some other documents that get submitted to the Department of Consumer Affairs. It goes through DCA and then the agency above, and they can ask for changes. Hopefully they approve it, and then it gets submitted to the Office of Administrative Law for notice. There's a 45-day comment period, and if there's no negative comments, then board staff moves forward with preparing the final statement of reasons. And that also then goes through DCA and agency, and then ultimately back to the Office of Administrative Law for their thorough review. And if they approve it, then it gets submitted to the Secretary of State for publication. So that's the process. It can take around 2 years for it to go through that. But it's on its way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that information.
One thing I wanted to point out where that the report, it shall report each client's race and ethnicity as identified by the client. That's something where this has to work with the LMAR. And so one thing that might get changed as to whether there has to be a pre-populated list. But I won't know until it gets further in the process if that specific language has to be changed. But I will keep you informed.
Thank you.
That's it.
Ms. Holder, are you there?
Yep, I just came back. I dropped out again. Sorry, it just came back. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
perfect.
yes, we can.
Okay. I didn't. Is Carrie done? My internet dropped out there.
Yes, I'm
It's
done.
finished.
Okay.
You're next, Diane, Ms.
Right,
Holzer.
thank you. All right, so we are moving to agenda item number 9 then, the program update. Ms. Moriarty?
Yes, please turn to tab 9A1 of the packet for the Midwifery Program Licensing Statistics. In the second quarter of fiscal year 2020-2021, the board received 5 new applications, issued 8 new licenses, and renewed 39 licenses. Please turn to page 9B1. In the second quarter of fiscal year 2020-2021, the board received 48 transfer of planned out-of-hospital delivery to hospital reporting forms for licensed midwives. Please turn to page 9C1 for the enforcement statistics for licensed midwives. In the second quarter of 2020-2021, the board received 2 complaints and referred 0 for investigation. Please turn to page 9C2. The board received 2 complaints in the second quarter of 2020-2021 for unlicensed midwives. Please turn to page 9C3 for the enforcement statistics for transfer of planned out-of-hospital delivery to hospital reporting forms for licensed midwives. In the second quarter of 2020-2021 fiscal year, the board received 48 forms and 0 were referred for investigation. Please turn to page 9C4. For the second quarter of 2020-2021 fiscal year, the board received 1 transfer of planned out-of-hospital delivery to hospital reporting form for unlicensed midwives, and 0 were referred for investigation. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Okay, if there's no questions from the members, are there any public comments?
If anyone would like to make a public comment, please indicate so in the Q&A window, and we'll call on you in the order received. A few more seconds here just in case. Okay, again, another just comment that they're having a hard time hearing you, Ms. Holzer. If you could try and talk directly into wherever you see the mic on your computer, that might help some. I do notice it myself too. It seems you fade in and out from time to time, but
Will do.
I don't see any other requests. Thank you.
All right, let's move to agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action on selection of 2 Midwifery Advisory Council members. Ms. Moriarty?
No applications were received for the public member position on the MAC. This position will be advertised again, and applications will be accepted to be presented at the August MAC meeting. In January, the medical board posted a recruitment announcement on its website for 1 licensed midwife position on the Midwifery Advisory Council. The position is for a 3-year term that will become effective June 30th, 2021 and expires June 30th, 2024. The nominee approved by the MAC today will be presented to the board for final approval at the May 13 and 14, 2021 quarterly board meeting. The board received 4 applications for the vacant licensed midwife position on the MAC. The applicants are Atusa Benji, Claudia Brelia, Kara Shamel, and Sue Turner. The 3 applicants that are not current MAC members were invited to this meeting. All applicants present today have the opportunity to introduce themselves to the MAC and provide a brief statement. Ms. Benji, would you like to provide a statement?
So give me just a moment here so I can move the applicants up to the point where they can turn on their video and unmute themselves. So Ms. Benji, you're now in a panelist position. You should be able to unmute and start your video if you would like.
Hi, everybody. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Atusa Benji. It is an honor and a privilege to be here, and thank you for considering me for a position. In the childbirth world in Los Angeles for about close to 20 years. I was born in Iran and raised in the UK, came to Los Angeles in my late high school years. I have a degree in sociology from UCLA and moved into the childbirth world in my 20s as a doula, childbirth educator, lactation counselor, and went back to school to become a licensed midwife. I'm a newly licensed midwife, and I have worked in both the home, both with licensed midwives and with certified nurse midwives. I'm also a CPM through NARM. So I'm an LMCPM and I have just started my own practice and I'm passionate. I'm a passionate educator. I'm passionate about legislation. I'm passionate about making birth better for all birthing people in this country through collaboration and understanding of where midwifery jobs and where midwifery between and what's needed to have better outcomes. For me, it's all about the outcomes and the experience of birthing people. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be considered and to learn more and to make some positive change at this level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benji. Ms. Brelia, would you like to make a statement?
I haven't really prepared anything. I forgot that we make statements. I have been a midwife for a very long time. I've been a midwife in California for 21 years and have been involved with midwifery. I joined the Midwifery Advisory Council, I guess 3 years ago. And I would like to stay on. I feel like, as we've noted, everything takes a very long time. So in order to see anything through, sometimes 3 years just isn't enough. So I would like to stay on the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brelia. Ms. Schammel, would you like to provide a statement?
Give me just a moment here to locate her real quick. Okay, Ms. Schammel, you should be able to unmute your microphone and start your video if you'd like.
Yes, just trying to figure out how to start my video.
Next to your name in the panelist list,
There
there's
we
usually a little button.
go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Great. Can you see me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Hi. So my name is Kara Schammel. I'm very grateful for this opportunity and for you considering my candidacy for the position. I have been attending births for 11 years and practicing midwifery for 5 years. I'm actually a newly minted licensed midwife in the state of California. I moved to San Francisco from Boston just 2 years ago, and I've been assisting out-of-hospital midwives here in San Francisco for the past year. And I just recently joined a CNM's home birth practice. So I'm sort of new to the scene, and I bring a lot of eager and enthusiastic energy as a newly minted LM. My interest in becoming a member of the MAC really stems from my origin story as a midwife because, as I said, I trained and practiced in Massachusetts, where I was really relegated to the fringe of maternity care because there was no licensure or regulation for certified professional midwives. So it felt like practicing sort of in the shadows of mainstream society. My colleagues and I were largely ignored, and there was no institutional oversight or support of any kind. So I had to carve out creative pathways just to get basic life-saving meds. And, I was in a position where I had to be upfront with people, with the clients that I was serving, that I wasn't even able to provide the standard of care. So people had to consider transferring for simple things like prophylactic antibiotics. So it was not a great position to be in, and it really lit a fire in my belly to licensure for CMs in Massachusetts. So during the time I was in the Boston area, I was a member of the Massachusetts Midwives Alliance, which was an organization that we created within the community for midwives to collaborate together and to create community practice standards. And I was on the co-chair of the fundraising community at the MMA, fundraising specifically to raise money for our lobbyists to push through legislative efforts for licensure and regulation. And just as I was really getting going with that work in Massachusetts, my wife and I relocated to San Francisco. So I'm setting down new roots here in this birth community. And I'm really just incredibly passionate about preserving the right of women and families to birth at home under the care of licensed midwives, competent and qualified midwives. And I see the integration of home birth midwives into the larger maternity care system as it's the scaffolding that supports high quality standard of care. And I see that it should be forged in collaboration with medical professionals and institutions. And again, like I return to my origin story, I've experienced a midwifery culture where without this formalized collaboration and accountability, communication breaks down and mistrust abounds. And most importantly, I saw that playing out as like harming consumers and compromising consumer quality of care. And it leaves midwives in a really vulnerable position. So I consider it a really great privilege to have a midwifery license now that I'm in California and practicing, and I acknowledge that with that privilege comes great responsibility. So as a newly minted licensed midwife, just setting down roots here, I'm eager to become more deeply involved in the midwifery community at the system-wide level and to take a seat at the table as we're interacting with various stakeholders and negotiating the terms under which we practice. So I just want to say that I'm very grateful to the lineage of California midwives who come before me. And I'm eager to bring new energy and a fresh perspective to the midwifery community here. And it would be an honor to serve as a member of the Midwifery Advisory Council. And I thank you for your time and consideration of my candidacy.
Thank you, Ms. Shamble. Next up, we have Ms. Turner. Ms. Turner, would you like to provide a statement?
Give me just one moment to get her as well. Ms. Turner, you should be able to unmute and share video now if you would like.
Okay. I'm not seeing where to open up my video on here. Oh, wait, no, I do. Sorry. Okay, hold on. Opening the video. Hang on a minute here. Okay, it says it's starting. It's taking a moment. Oh, okay. So I'm Sue Turner, and I've been a licensed midwife since 1997 here in the Ventura County area. And my interest in becoming part of the board was just to help represent the Southern California area, much like TISA as well. I've had a birth center, home birth practice since about a year after licensure, and now currently mainly doing birth center. I have a number of students, and that's probably all I have to say. So thank you for consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Ms. Holzer, that is all 4 of our applicants.
Great, thank you. So, I guess what we need is a nomination. I would love to nominate Claudia for reappointment to the board.
Diane?
Yes?
How many, is there just one position?
Yes. Claudia's term is up and we are, so that term is, well, that's the vacant term.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we have a public member. See, we have a public member seat that is vacant that we had someone interested, but she didn't get back to us until today. So she will be applying next time. But for the midwifery position, there's 1 seat vacant.
Okay, so you're calling from the 4 people that just presented, you're calling for a nomination.
Yes, and I would like to nominate Claudia.
I'd like to nominate Atutsi Benji.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I said her name wrong.
So what we need is a second for a nomination, for either of those nominations, I guess. Would someone like to make a second?
Yes, I like to second Atusa Benji.
All right, then that have a nomination and a second. Do we want to discuss it at all, or?
This is Tisa. Can you explain like how many nominations we can make?
Well, we're choosing one person from the 4 applicants.
Okay, this is Tisa. I'd like to nominate Kara Shamel.
Right now, what's on the table is discussion about a nomination and a second of a TUSA. So we have a nomination and a second. So basically we can vote for it or we can vote against it, but that's what's on the table right now. That's what's happening. I can just start with the discussion. My thoughts are, given that we may be disbanding, who knows? It might be best just to keep people who have been on for, who have experience and history with the board right now, because we do have a lot of new people on the board, and I think it does help to have some history and experience on the board. And that was I think Atusa is a great candidate. She's very impressive in her history and presentation for sure. So I do not have any qualms about Atusa either.
Yes, I think all the candidates are amazing. They all have amazing strengths and talents. So it's too bad, that it's only one position. That's why I asked. But I think once you have a second, is there something? Was somebody going to say something?
Well, if we don't have any discussion, we go to a vote.
I have a question. Is there any reason that we can't have a midwife in the public position?
That would be a question for Carrie.
Yeah, it's set up for it to be 3 licensed midwives, 3 public members. One of those by policy is a physician.
All right.
And I'd like to say too, in cases where there's more than one nomination, the way that the full board does it is that when it's voted on, then each person voting says the name of their candidate, and then the person with the majority wins if there's more than one candidate going forward.
So you're saying that someone could second the nomination of Claudia, is what you're saying, and then we vote for either one. I agree with, I mean, I think all of the candidates are just simply amazing, and this is a really tough thing. Claudia has experience, has been on the board, and has been a very, very important member of the committee. So I agree with Ms. Abe. I wish there was more than one space opening.
So we need a second in order for me to be considered. Is that what needs to happen?
I think so.
Can I second myself?
Yes.
Okay, well, I will second Claudia Brelia.
Okay, so we have, so what do we do, Carrie? We just vote on each one?
You can call for public comment, and then when Ms. Moriarty calls for the vote, each person voting says the name of the candidate they're voting for.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Well, I have some more discussion then, since now we have two candidates. If the candidates could tell me what's one thing you hope to accomplish in your term.
Well, I can jump in with what I hope to accomplish is to continue some of the things that are in process. I would love to be part of a transition to a midwifery board. And I feel that my history in California and working with the California Association of Midwives, which has become COM, and representing the state's midwives to the medical board and to the Midwifery Advisory Council, that I have a good history to know what's been done and turn that over into what needs to happen. I've also been on the board of our national organization and have worked on legislation or been aware of legislation and what has worked in some states and what has worked in other states and what hasn't worked in terms of setting up midwifery boards. And I'd love to be part of that in California.
Is it possible to have the other candidate?
I apologize for that. I'm sorry. Let me bring that individual back. I was not.
Okay, that's fine. And I don't know if people had other questions, but I'll have a second question, which is, what's one thing? Really, I want to ask about health equity. And what's your perspective on that? Anything you want to speak, like as far as experiences or things you've done with the birth disparities? Thank you. So 2 questions since you're here, Ms. Benji. You're back.
Hi, thank you so much for unblocking my video and I'm able to speak. Thank you again. I'm so honored and to speak after Ms. Borrelia, who's done so much for the community and on the board. I haven't served on the board. I'm a fresh face to the board at this level. I feel while I haven't served on the board, I feel like I'm well-rounded in that I have seen it from the consumer side, I've seen it from the educator side, I've seen it from the doula side, I've seen it from the nurse midwife side working in the hospital, and I've seen it from the community midwife side also. And I have spoken to doctors and nurses at length. I'm actually just launching a program to go in and speak to doctors and nurses in the local hospitals to really teach them about what licensed midwives do and what our standard of care is and what our protocols are, because many, they just don't know. So it has to start with that education, in that if you don't know, then there's going to be a threat because you don't know what you don't know. And so I'm very, very passionate about creating those bridges because, like a fellow nominee said, I just don't think that we're going to have better outcomes if we don't have the bridges and collaboration. With regards to health equity and health equality, I attended a midwifery program. I attended MCU, which is a Midwives College of Utah. And that program was really robust in the many, many courses that I took and the many papers that I wrote, including a paper that I wrote that was published in Dona International Magazine with regard to Black mothers and low birth weight babies and why mothers are dying. And I do extensive research on my own, and I've also been trained in teaching health equality through my doula trainings. So we spend, I'm only given a couple of hours in the doula trainings to speak about that, but I lengthen it and I take away from some other places that I feel like I can, because it's such an important subject. And, you know, because we have equality does not mean we have equity. And I feel that by being on this board and creating clear communication between midwives in all areas. So it only shouldn't be that the midwives in my area know what each other are doing. I feel like we should know in all of California what each other are doing and have some sort of clear understanding of what each other's standards are, and who we're collaborating with, and where our allies are, and where we still have work to do. So that is my answering of both of those questions. Thank you again.
Thank you. Just for the other members, just so you know, I had to mute a couple mics because I was picking up some background audio. So if you guys want to come back off of mute now, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you for your answer.
Ms. Brilliard, did you want to respond to the second question?
Sure. I have not been in active practice for the last 3.5, 4 years. And what I have been doing as the director of a midwifery school is updating the curriculum so that it includes more about equity, more about social determinants of health, and working to make the midwifery school and the education more equitable. So, and also, I made our school one of the first to have a Grand Challenge scholarship, which was a full ride scholarship for a student midwife of color in every cohort. So, you know, I have done what I can to increase the workforce so that every client has a culturally congruent midwife to work with.
Thank you. Did any other board members have questions? Those were my two.
And, you know, I just want to say that I am so thrilled to see so many people interested in being on the Midwifery Advisory Council. I think it's fantastic. And yeah.
Yes, it's very exciting that we have so many applicants, that's for sure. You know, another thing to think about is just geographics. Who's going to be, you know, it's nice to get a big representation of who represents what areas in California on the MAC, just to get different perspectives of what's going on. And we have just brought in TISA for our Southern California representatives. So if we bring on a TUSA, then we'll have 2 people from Southern California, and I'm terming out. I think soon. I think maybe this year, next year. So it would be good, I think, to have someone from the Northern California area on the MAC as well. And once again, just the history to move the MAC forward, I think is a really good idea, because we have a lot of new faces now, which is great. But I think it's good to have a mix of both.
I have another question. So when we do vote, can a candidate vote for themselves? Is that what's normally done?
Yes, they can.
Thank you. Well, I think that this is difficult because not all the time maybe do we have so many passionate people applying. So I do think there's a case for experience, but I think that what we've been discussing is the challenges of the MAC itself, and that's why there's discussion of it having its own midwives having their own board, self autonomy. But that's not where we're at today. So we meet 3 times a year, and for me, I'm always asking, because it takes so long to accomplish things. What are we accomplishing? How best are we using our time? I'm so new, but I don't know. I've listened to some of the history of the term limits and so forth. But really what I'm trying to say is there's a case for newness and there's a case for I'm new. So, new people can accomplish things because they're just new. They don't know what they don't know. So I just wanted to say that there's nothing wrong with having seasoned people. And so there's both sides. That's a good thing. Absolutely. You need mentoring and you need the wisdom of someone who's been before you. But new people see things differently. So I wanted to say that before. It looks like we're going towards a vote. And so those are some of my thoughts.
Hi, this is Tisa. Is there a way for somebody to give a quick report of where the status of our current council members are in their term? Because I'm the newest member and I don't really know, I guess, how long everybody's terms are and when they are terming out. That would kind of help me as well, kind of determine filling these shoes as you were talking about having experience, non-experience, that kind of stuff.
I can go ahead and present from our website the term dates, and maybe Tanya, you could just confirm for me that everything is correct here, but it's all posted. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong screen. Sorry about that. This one here. It's all available out on our website with the term dates for each individual.
Does it say? I can't see it.
Could you make it larger, Sean?
I can try.
Thank you. Much better.
Oh, I haven't.
Looks like there's some updates in need too, but to the website list. But Tanya, can you confirm those dates are all correct?
Yes, they are. Ms. Curran is our new member. She was appointed in 2020. Ms. Dugan and Ms. Perez are no longer members. All the other dates are correct, yes.
Great.
So this is Tisa, we're looking to replace Jocelyn's spot as well, is that right?
Yes, with a public member.
Okay.
But not today.
Right.
And welcome, Tisa. It's great to have you as part of the team.
Thank you. I appreciate this little visual. It helps me.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to you guys.
Tisa, what part of the state are you in?
I'm in the most northern part of LA County in Lancaster.
Okay, so the only applicant who is from Northern California is Cara Shamal. I hope I'm saying that right. And So we'll have all Southern California members in terms of midwives when Ms. Holzer terms out next year. So that's also a consideration.
Yes, but her spot will open up though.
That's true.
Yeah, so, yeah. I have no opinion on space. To me, we won. So, but that information might be helpful for other people. Hopefully, we won't be still on Zoom. Does anybody need more information?
Okay, so if the members don't have any more conversation, we should ask for public comment.
Okay, anyone would like to make a public comment? Go ahead and indicate so below. Okay, first up we have here is Carrie Shannon. Carrie, you there?
Yes, I am. I just wanted to say, as a practicing LM, eagerly looking forward to the hopeful formation of a midwifery board in the state. It would be a great relief to me to see Claudia continuing on in her duties on the MAC, just in the context of this council possibly being disbanded. I think her continuity of service would be an asset, and my hope would be that it would position her well to lend her voice and her experience and her knowledge toward the creation of a midwifery board. Just her highlighting her inner knowledge of the midwifery regulation on the national scale and the various configurations of midwifery boards as they vary state by state. As she was talking about that, I just, for me, it feels important that it should be considered in light of the current context of the board, of the council currently being disbanded, to make way for a future midwifery board. And that is all.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. Next up, we have Rosanna Davis. Rosanna, are you there?
Yes, hello, Rosanna Davis. I just want to acknowledge y'all have a tough choice. These are some very competent applicants who each have something to contribute. And I would encourage the council to consider at this juncture the value that Claudia brings in continuity and institutional memory, especially related to the practice of licensed midwifery in California. That concludes my comment.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Next up, we have Sue Turner. Sue, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I would like to see Atisa in this position. I think she's very well-rounded, and I think she has a lot of attributes. I think she brings, like she was saying, a fresh face to our MAC board, although appreciative of what Claudia has done.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. If anyone else would like to make a last public comment, please indicate so in the Q&A window. Okay, at this time, I don't see any additional requests. Ms. Benji, I'm going to go ahead and move you back down to the attendee role because I believe that will be voting next. If there are any further questions from the council.
Yes, I'm sorry,
okay.
I was muted. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the disbandment, we don't know what's going to happen with disbandment. I don't think that there's anything that's clear that this board would continue with a future, with the future of the, a new midwifery separate entity is built up. But I also want to say I've known Claudia a long time. I think that she's very passionate, and she's doing so much great work that I'm confident her work would continue. And also, There are many other past board members of the MAC who are on every board meeting who continue to offer us guidance and support. I feel their presence, and I've spoken with many of them. So I just want to say, I don't know that the choice is that stark. That is, I don't think Claudia would be like, what? I'm not gonna help you guys. So I don't know. That's just my feeling, that she's very supportive. But again, I definitely see the both sides. It is a tough, it's very tough decision we have today.
Ms. Holzer, I believe you're on mute if you're trying to.
Oh, sorry. Are there any other comments from the members of council? Hearing none, I guess what we should do is go to the vote. Ms. Moretti?
Yes, Ms. Abe?
I would like to vote for Ms. Benji.
Thank you. Dr. Adams?
Yes, I guess I have two things. One, are we going to remove does it matter if we remove Miss Benji from back into the public?
She has been.
Just vote. It doesn't matter, just vote.
Well, I just want to make a comment. I'm crying inside at the limitations and the difficulty of this. And I'm going to vote for Claudia.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Ms. Bralia?
Well, I'm really torn because I like everybody, but I guess I'm gonna vote for myself.
Thank you, Ms. Bralia. Ms. Curran?
Yes, I'd like to place my vote for Ms. Benji, please.
Thank you. And Ms. Holzer?
I would like to place my vote for Claudia Bralia.
Thank you. It looks like Ms. Bralia will be the nominee and will be presented to the full board at the May 13 and 14, 2021 quarterly board meeting for final approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Claudia. And to the other members
you.
out there, please, there is going to be an open vacancy in a year, so please reapply. Please reapply.
Yes.
There will be. And we are hoping next meeting to have a public member as well. So now I guess we can move to agenda item 11, which is our future agenda items. Do any members have any particular agenda items for the next MAC meeting?
I have an agenda item, but I'm not sure if it could be an agenda item. But I just feel that that board members need more support with at least parliamentary procedures, or and maybe just like a review of how meetings run, or just I feel that board members need additional support, and that those are normal. I know in other boards that I've been on, board members do get some type of training like that. So I don't know. I just thought of that and wanted to know if that's something that could be an item. I know that our budget is limited, however, but sometimes there's free trainings. But it's something that I know that in other spaces, whole boards do it together, like they do a retreat or they do something so that there's some synergy, especially with our new member, Tisa. Because we're not meeting, we're not meeting in person. There was no way that I feel disconnected from her. I feel the board is a little disconnected. So anyway, that might just be me, and that might be just my idea, but I just want to put that out there.
So, Danielle, do you want me to put it as training for new members, or what's the best way to focus the discussion?
Not just for new members, for the whole board. I think there should be like a retreat, or there should be something. Let's just call it a retreat. I feel like I want to ask, can there be something titled a retreat for, I'm okay, I know I might be thinking too great. Is that something, just can I ask, is that something that's never been done, or is that out of line? Does the MAC never do anything type of that, like that?
Not in my experience. Whether it's possible, I guess that would be a question for Carrie Webb.
There's restrictions because of the Bag-the-Keene Open Meeting Act. And so if you're thinking of a retreat like how I think of a retreat, you go to a location altogether, just the members, and talk about goals and plans and bond. That is unfortunately not permitted under California law. If there's some particular training, and new members do have training where you get a binder, you get the administrative manual, you're reminded about the Open Meeting Act, but training is permitted individually and with up to 2 members, and also at an open meeting, because it has to be noticed if there is 3 or more members present. So if there's some particular topic, we can determine if it makes sense to do a training. There doesn't seem to be an issue with how people vote. I have done a presentation on the Open Meeting Act so that people knew what the restrictions were. So if that would be beneficial, I could do that again. But otherwise, the state won't allow board or council members to do retreats.
Every year or every 2 years, I'm sorry, we do training required by the state, and it's online. So you mentioned what you talked about, the Open Meeting Act. I don't know if it's recorded, and it would be something that could be in that packet, as well as Ms. Abe said, something about parliamentary procedure. I feel like that would be helpful, particularly for this committee. I don't know what happens when, or this council, I don't know what happens when a new person joins the medical board, what training they get. But I think that might be a good idea. Just a suggestion.
Well, maybe what we should do is put it on the agenda as training for new members, for new MAC members, and then we can actually discuss it. And then if something else comes out of our discussion, we'll have to put it on the agenda for the next meeting. But just for the purposes of right now of making the agenda, does it seem okay to put it on there as training for new members?
I'd like to see it as training for all members.
Okay, training.
I would too. I like to see it as training for all.
Okay, I'll do that. And then, just thinking forward, if people could, if you have ideas or whatever, just please come prepared to maybe make suggestions about what might be a good way to improve things. Okay, so that's a great agenda item. Thank you, Danielle. We have all the standing stuff, right? The establishing goals for the MAC, update on the legislation. I guess we will want an update on the, do we need an update on the sunset review? That'll just be included, I guess, in legislation. The update on the program, right? We're done with the LMAR, so we don't have to do anything with that. Approval of our minutes.
Well, I beg to differ.
Okay.
For agenda item 7, I'd like to keep that on and keep updated on where it is and what's happening with it.
Okay.
I think that would be a good thing to do.
Okay, so let's just have, I guess that would be from staff, an update from staff on where the proposed language for the LMR is. And then we will be selecting a new public member. And then a report from the task force on Medi-Cal issues, Tisa and Claudia. What else?
Ms.
Anything
Holzer,
else? Yes.
Ms. Holzer, this language on the LMAR is going through staff, but it is not the only avenue it needs to go, that it can potentially go through. So I don't know that we should limit it to staff. Ms.
No, I meant
Davis?
staff would be the one who would give us the report because they'll
Yes,
be,
but suppose there's a public member out there who takes that language and with support from Calm, you know, is on their own attempting to find someone to author a bill. Is that not possible? It does not have to go through the medical board. I believe I keep hearing that anybody can do that. Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
That would be under midwifery related legislation if it was happening.
Right. So I guess that what I'm saying is staff or anyone who is doing anything with it, any public, well, okay, we can just leave it to the staff and get public comment on it.
Well, I would like to be able to do more than just hear what's happening with what we've already done. I didn't want to talk about this during the report, but I thought I remembered that we also wanted to know the race and ethnicity of midwives so that we could correlate that. I think there's more to talk about. And I don't want to see it restricted to just talking about what we've done already.
So you want to keep it as a standing agenda item? As it is, as it's written?
I think so. Report from, Well, I mean, that's me asking you and Miss Abe to do more work. And if you guys feel like you've accomplished what you set out to do and that you're satisfied with that, then I will let it go. So I guess, you know, if you're happy with updates, then that is fine. If there's other things that could be done with the LMAR,
I think that could be a separate agenda item. I think this has been done and then we need to follow through as it's moving, or if it gets, stopped.
Okay, then I will withdraw my suggestion. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So what we've got is an update on the progress of the LMAR language.
Yeah, an update on their proposed regulatory, the update on the proposed regulatory language change for the LMAR.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Do any public members have any agenda items?
I have one so far, but if anyone else would like to make a public comment, please indicate so by typing anything into the Q&A window. First up, we have Rosanna Davis. Rosanna, you there?
Yes, Rosanna Davis. I just wanted to suggest that any training about the MAC be included in a MAC meeting so that the midwifery community can be part of that, so that they understand what this committee can and can't do, and so that there's greater participation, interest, historical knowledge of, and that maybe that take the form of Ms. Webb doing a presentation about it. So that's my suggestion on that. And I don't know if this is an agenda item, but I'm going to risk talking about it here. And that is that it's come to my attention that the Elmar reporting form has only just been opened up this week, and that I think that it's going to, and that's understandable during, this year of COVID. I'm sure everyone is behind on their workload. But I'd like to request, and maybe I can follow up with Ms. Webb about this, that there be an extension on the due date so that we can get the best participation in that for our data collection. That concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you for your public comment. At this time, I don't see any other requests in the queue.
Right, unless someone has something else, I believe the meeting is adjourned. All right, well, it was good to see you all and to look forward to seeing you again.